Oh, please stay standing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our faith in action song.
Nowhere, reading every moment with an open heart, certain of nothing and embracing it all. With love and compassion, I make a start. I am right here in the middle of nowhere. I am in every moment with an open mind. Watching my thoughts and passing away, free my soul from the storyline. I am right here in the middle of nowhere, greeting every moment with open arms, doing all I can to shine some light in my world. The caring and kindness will do no harm. Like sunlight dances on water, like a tree bends in the breeze, I'll live my life beautifully, bringing joy and peace. Like sunlight like a tree bends in the breeze, I'll give my life beautifully. Do-do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do-do. Bringing joy and peace.
Thank you. You sound good. Sounds like you know the song now. As we settle in for our meditation, now I invite you to read along with me our vision statement. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions. Weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom, we cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet. Now we will sing the beautiful chant. May all beings know love. May all beings know peace.
May all beings know love. May all beings know peace. May all
As we move into this time of meditation, just breathe in that vibration deep into your belly. May all beings know love. May all beings know peace. May all beings know the love that they are and feel that peace within them. May I know the love that I am and feel that peace within me. For that's where it all starts, within each one of us. Awakening in sacred world. Yes, sacred world wakes us up. Everything that's happening to us is happening through us. Everything that's happening, everything is here to wake us up to what we really are. And so we slow down. We take time in the quiet and we listen. And the God of our being whispers, "Rest, my beloved. Relax. Let me hold you for a moment, but only in this moment. In this very moment, let me hold you in all that is, in the ungroundedness, in the unknowing deep within you. Feel me in your belly. Feel me in your heart. Feel me awakening in every cell of your being. Feel me. Feel me in nature. Feel me in all of humanity. Feel me. Wake up to me, which is the truth of you. Walk softly on the earth and allow love, the love that you already are, to come forth freely and beautifully to bless the world. And we love like this, not because we should, but because it's our true nature. Loving is the most natural thing that we do. But sometimes we forget, which is why we gather in places like this to practice what we already are, where our intention is to love, to serve, and to remember. Remembering together the sacredness of our own being, the sacredness of all others, the sacredness of creation. You can trust God within you. You can trust God in your loved ones. You can trust God within all people and all things. And even our prayers for this planet and humanity can sometimes still carry fear. Can we lay that down too? And it doesn't mean that we aren't moved to do something. Love is active. Love does move us. But we are moved to work for love, not against hate. In our love, our energy is clear and directed. With love, all things are truly possible. Each of us has committed to do no harm to ourselves or others, to take care of one another, to embrace the world just as it is. So as we move into the silence, we hold those commitments in our heart, and we ask our Creator, our God, to guide us in love. Thank you, God. Yes, we are awakening in sacred world.
It's time to rise to my own occasion, rise to my own anthem. I'll rise when I enter the courtroom and honor my own decisions. Rise like the mystic moon, rise with the tides, stand up and be counted. Even if I'm the only one who's counting, rise, 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 rise. if I'm the only one. Rise to meet me. Rise to greet me. Rise to meet myself. Rise to greet myself. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. It's time to let myself in. Behold, I stand at the door and knock, 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 knock. It's time to let myself in. Behold, I stand at the door. Knock, 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 knock. It's time to let myself rise to my own occasion. Rise to my own anthem. I'll rise when I enter the courtroom and honor my own decisions. Rise like the mystic moon, rise with the tides, stand up and be counted, even if I'm the only one who counts. I'll count myself lucky. Rise to meet me. Rise to greet me. Rise to meet myself. Rise no matter where I may have been. It's time to let myself in.
A beautiful original piece by Vitrina. Thank you for blessing us with that. Isn't that beautiful? So it's good to see you, to be with you all. Yeah. Yay! Did you enjoy sleeping in this morning? I did, and I was really glad this was the week I was talking because I'm used to sleeping in. It's been about 8 months since I spoke to you from this platform. James has been doing a wonderful job of leading you through this faith in action experience. And I was happy to give him a rest and step in for week 5, Awakening in a Sacred World. And we start by introducing the artists who have created a work just for this section of the book. And today we have Gabriella Bargellini. I love her name, saying it, Gabriella Bargellini, and our own Reverend Louise Bizark. Yay! So first, Gabriella, and she says, I was very much taken by the short, sweet adage in chapter 3, laying the foundation. The adage, do not believe everything you think. Reading on, I came across the image of owl symbol of ancient sacred wisdom. At the lowest point in her life, day or night, Pema would see owls. One in particular even winked at her, lifting her spirits and bringing laughter. After that, Pema was able to put things in a better perspective. As we begin the wherever we are to bring the 3 commitments in our lives, we do so remembering that everything, be they groundless or quixotic, uncertain or exhilarating, vulnerable or predictable, everything is a doorway to the sacred and joyful. Thank you, Gabriella. And Louise. course, they'll have their art in the courtyard. And Louise says, in the process of creating this piece, I was reminded, as I keep the simple commitment to letting go of the banks and resting in the present moment, taking nothing personally. When I remember this, the freedom of groundlessness is my experience. The powerful reminder from Pema in her concluding words is this: at this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. In Asia, an enso is a circle that is quickly painted with 2 brush strokes. It expresses a moment when the mind is free to let the body create and symbolizes great strength, elegance, the universe, and the void. She says, while creating this piece for today, it emerged effortlessly and in buoyancy, in the middle of the flow of the river. And the piece is entitled Empty. Perfect. So our study guide for this week says that the bottom line of this book is to stay focused in the present, whatever that takes, and to live in that space that's represented by the middle of the river. You know, I think it's good to boil it down to those essential thoughts, to stay focused in the present and go with the flow, because this book is short but mighty. It kind of represents the culmination of Pema's lifetime practice of Buddhism, in this one little book. And some of us may be ready to take on all 3 commitments now, but some of us may not. So we're a choice, right? And our journeys are uniquely individual and, of course, perfectly fitted for each of us. Our souls have come for a unique, glorious, never before experienced divine appointment, right? Right. So these practices are beautiful and they're powerful tools from which we can choose to add to our own spiritual toolbox. Personally, I'm going to use this book as a reference manual for life because it covers just about everything. It's a great little resource. I'm reminded by one of my favorite teachers, Abraham, through Esther Hicks, that words don't teach, experience does. Therefore, the only thing I can share with authority comes through my own personal experience. And even that's constantly evolving. So let me share with you how the past 8 months of my life have related to what I read in Pema's book. I could see how everything that I've been experiencing was part of life's uncertainty and how the 3 Buddhist commitments were useful to me. In the major life changes I've been going through, I've had the opportunity to be with life just as it is. And while it's taken some time, I'm experiencing a much greater degree of freedom than ever before. So uncertainty and change for me this year has included retiring from ministry, a job that I loved and found both rewarding and challenging, being involved in an accident which totaled my car, my beloved pet of over 15 years passing away, and my older brother dying just a few weeks ago. The list goes on, but you get the picture. Wide-scale change. Last spring, as I was consciously stepping into this time of uncertainty, I couldn't know what was going to unfold. I had a sense that there was more change coming. Sometimes we think we have a plan or know how things should go, but at least in this case, I knew I didn't know. I had no roadmap, and so I just surrendered. And at first, I gave myself time to rest and recuperate. For self-care. I started really simply with just taking care of my skin care. Our skin is the largest organ in our body, and it's just like, I'm just going to start really simply. So that was a fun way to start. And not to sugarcoat the story, it also included some numbing out by binge-watching Netflix series. I'm not the only one, I can tell by the nervous laughter. And enjoying a nightly glass of red wine and a little chocolate. But even as this phase was going on, a part of me knew it would pass. It was an exit, and it was part of my grieving. So I put on some extra weight, that unconscious external protection, and the natural consequences of wine and chocolate every night. Excuse me. Uh-oh, a tickle. Oh, Ira's not here. I wish I had some wine. Okay. I don't know if it's done yet or not. Okay. Hi, Ira. I'm going to do my ventriloquist act now. Okay, I think I'm okay now. Speaking of water. Then flowing along the river of change, surrendering, I was introduced to a CD series by poet and author David Whyte. Any of you know David Whyte's work? So beautiful. And this piece was Midlife and the Great Unknown. It's a wonderful discourse on the concept of taking time to slow down and harvest the season that one has just completed. So instead of rushing to fill the empty space and time, to really reflect and extract all the goodness that can be gleaned from the season that has just ended. To be totally present at this rich, unrepeatable point in life. This was a wonderful tool because our society doesn't really teach that or support that. So it supported me in doing no harm to myself or to others as I processed and integrated many lessons. And soon I began to see them as gifts and great blessings. Another takeaway for me was to make a deal with myself that I wouldn't start anything or take action until I was crystal clear, until I was inspired. And this prevented a lot of false starts. This was a spacious and sometimes spacey time for me. It felt almost surreal, especially compared to the hectic pace of my life prior to this time. Perhaps some of you have gone through a retirement transition and know about this dynamic. Yeah. I certainly had plenty of time to embrace, as Pema says, the delightful and difficult aspects of life. Eventually, I learned of an opportunity to practice the second commitment, to take care of one another, one which was clear and compelling for me, and I felt inspired to sign up and participate in an event that was to be held in Japan at the base of Mount Fuji in October, from which I have recently returned. My spiritual teacher, Sai Ma, hosted a Vedic fire ceremony known as a Mahayagya for the purpose of global enlightenment through peace and the uplifting of our collective consciousness. Now, this is my kind of thing. And it was happening in the month of my 60th birthday. How perfect. Treat to myself. The first time I went to India on a spiritual pilgrimage was for my 40th birthday. This marked a new beginning, a rebirth for me, and an adventure. So once I made this commitment to participate, it seemed the universe lined up to support me. Thank you. The universe supporting me. Yay! And I'm going to use it. Thank you. I'm going to talk with food in my mouth. Oh, thank you. See, I am just so blessed. Where was I? Adventure. Okay. Once I made this commitment, and that's one of our words for today, right? Commitment. It seemed that the universe really lined up to support me, to overcome any seeming obstacles. So, first seeming obstacle, money. So it was going to cost over $5,000 for this trip, and I'm on a modest fixed income. First I worried, and then I prayed, and I received guidance to ask for support. Specifically, the guidance came as, let your ego die. Now, doesn't that sound like fun? It was eventually. So I asked, and several friends and family members graciously contributed to underwrite my trip. And I am so grateful and humbled. Next, preparation. The ceremony would be 3 very long days, 14 hours each. And I didn't feel that my physical self, I'd already told you about the wine and chocolate, or my spiritual self was in shape for that demand. So I began a self-designed spiritual boot camp, a daily routine that included yoga, meditation, exercise, a healthy, clean diet, and contemplation. My goal was to bring my best self to the experience. You know, that preparation in and of itself was a tremendous blessing. For 7 weeks, I dedicated nearly half of my waking hours every day to my practice. It's really the best care I've ever given myself. And the benefit has really been life-changing. I even gave up the wine and chocolate, lost some weight, because instead of that outer protection, I was focusing on my inner strength. Better strategy, really. So on October 18th, I flew to Japan. It's the first time that I visited, and I don't know what I expected, but I found it to be very modern and organized, and the people extremely gracious. Now, as we traveled through Tokyo, which is a huge city, to reach the Mount Fuji area, I was amazed by how clean it was, the lack of any litter or any sign of a homeless population. You know, their culture appears to be doing a lot of things really, really well. So I highly recommend it. And while we were there, I stayed at the mountain region in a traditional Japanese hotel, and we slept on the little mats and the soji screen walls and all that. That part I don't so much recommend. Except that they did have the ritual baths, which were hot mineral water, so that helped with the issues of sleeping on the little mats. But I digress. So people from 47 different countries around the world participated in this Mahayagya. It took 2 years to plan and organize. 108 Vedic priests, known as pundits, came from India to officiate, plus another 50 of their support staff. And there were about 500 of Saima's students present. And she also held darshan, where she gives a personal blessing to hundreds of Japanese people individually before the official ceremony even began. It was a massive logistical effort to create this event as a gift of service to the world. And I felt so blessed to participate, to contribute. A typical yagya, or Vedic fire ritual, has 1 kunda, or fire pit. This one had 27. All of them created and arranged in sacred geometry. Everyone had a huge crystal underneath of it, and it was a pit 6 feet deep. Then they built up the sides, all beautifully painted with very colorful. Actually, I think they used spices in some cases. It was beautiful. And then the shala or temple that was built over it was actually, there was a crane that brought in a framework, and there was a roof on that. And it was all in what the equivalent of a national park, what we would have as a national park, with the mystical Mount Fuji in the background. It's a beautiful place. We were outside there for 3 long days outside each day. And as I mentioned, the ceremony continued for 3 days and nights once it began. Those of us who were outside of the shala, the students, we went home each night and got a very little bit of rest. But I felt so energized I didn't need much sleep. But the fires were being fed continuously, and the pundits and staff worked around the clock to maintain this sacred space. And each day there were a number of rituals, each of them lasting 2 or 3 hours for specific purposes. Some were for healing us, as individuals, our family and lineage, and the world. Some for cleaning the radiation out of the waters of Japan and cleaning the waters of the world. Some for peace and prosperity, and on and on. And while the pundits were chanting in Sanskrit, these thousands of words that they've memorized from the Vedas, and the Vedas are India's sacred text. The Vedas means truth. We were seated around the shala, praying, meditating, and chanting. And symbolic items are offered or fed into the fire, such as food and flowers. And they represent the things that we want to transform. The most powerful part of that experience for me was the times we were invited to chant Om continuously in support of the rituals, the longest of which was over 2 hours. Now, as I was doing this, I didn't know how long it was going to go on. We start chanting, and the lead pundit is, saying, keep chanting, and then all the rituals going on. And at one point, my mind is saying, I don't know if I can keep doing this, But eventually that passed, and I just kept on. And then this thing happened, this experience happened of the chanting just took over, and it was so effortless. And my mind every once in a while would pop in and say, how are you doing this? You don't even seem to be breathing very often. And then that would go away, and I would just continue, and just on. And such energy was created in my body, such resonance. And there was no thinking. Because when you're doing that, you're single-minded. It's all you can do is that one thing, chanting Om. And words really fail to express the state that was created in my body and my consciousness for chanting that long. To be single-minded for that long. And hundreds of us from all over the world sitting around the shala, chanting together, became this vortex of energy encircling this shala, that inside of that, this powerful Shakti that Sai Ma and the pundits were created inside of there. So all of these energies spiraling and resonating and expanding. It was indescribable. I have God bumps everywhere right now just recalling it. For the purpose of global enlightenment. Such power, such peace, such unconditional love. Just going to take a little trip back there. So for some time now, I have had the notion that in each and every moment, the possibility to experience enlightenment is present. If I am present enough, and this was one such time. I came home in a different state. I feel soft and grounded, more subtle, more of a witness to life. and more free. In a word, yummy. You know, one of the things I'm noticing these days, having more of that witness perspective, is how much we love drama. And if we don't have enough of our own going on, we tune into our TVs and our devices for the regular installments available there. You know what I mean? You know, I like to watch baseball and was following the World Series, especially that last game. It was fascinating to watch the fans react to the game. You know, some of them looked like their lives depended on the outcome. The worry, the stress on their face, and literally the nail biting. Did you see the nail biting, any of you that watched the game? You know, what was different for me was that I still had fun watching the game, but I wasn't anxious like I have been in the past. I wasn't letting it control my emotions. So it's in those times like that that we really have a chance to see, oh, this is what's changed for me. You know, how we experience things differently after we've had an experience. I hope to keep enjoying this state, to stay in the middle of the river or keep returning to the middle. Time will tell. But in the ritual or practice that James has started, I'd like to practice getting to know the witness by having an experience together. So I'm going to invite you to take a little trip with me. So I invite you to close your eyes. And take some nice deep breaths. In your own rhythm. Natural, full breaths. Allowing all thoughts to settle down. All emotions to become quiet. With each breath, drop more deeply within. Now imagine that you are traveling through deep space. The blackness is so dark. So you turn and see the planets of our solar system, and they are magnificent. They are aligned in a cross, what's known as a grand trine. The colors are vibrant and bold, in contrast to the deep blackness of space. You are suspended there, completely present, relaxed, and aware. As you marvel at the beauty in front of you, you realize that you're not in any kind of spaceship. In fact, as you gaze down, you realize that you're not in a body. You are pure consciousness. witnessing the beauty of our solar system, of the universe. Your awareness is traveling freely through the universe, but it is still the you that you have always known, the one who is always present, always has been. Your witness, the one who notices what you notice. This part of you which is so familiar, your essence, your I am. And you realize this is who I am. This is who I am. Okay. And now, taking a few more deep breaths, I invite you to rejoin your physical self. And when you're ready, open your eyes as the witness. Thank you, Paula. I'm just noticing the energy in the room. As for awakening or enlightenment, I do believe it's possible for each and every one of us at any time. In fact, I believe that as multidimensional beings, our essence or higher self is divine. And the process of enlightenment is really for the personality. And that it isn't about learning or earning or becoming, but about releasing and dropping that which blocks our awareness to merge with that witness who we just spent a few moments with, to merge with our divinity. It's natural, not exceptional. It's about observing our ever-changing thoughts and beliefs and patterns, for we don't have to identify with them. We can just let them flow on by. Notice them and let them keep going. Because when we learn to identify with the ever-present changeless and eternal higher self, so what is changing? Are our thoughts changing? Constantly, right? Our emotions constantly changing. But that witness, that sense of self that's so familiar, never changes. It's changeless, and it's always with us. It isn't emotional or mental. It just is. So we all come to this awareness in our own way, in our own time. in this sacred world. And after all, we have forever. That's the good news. And, as one of my favorite bumper stickers says, enlightenment, it's not what you think. So, shameless plug, I have some meditation CDs in the courtyard afterwards if you'd like to make a love offering. And at the end of each week, we do our affirmation together. I'm going to suggest a minor edit. That's up to you. But I'm going to read it with my edit, and then we'll read it together, okay? So, it's on the back of your program for week 5. So it goes. I'll say it first. I am responsible for my own state of mind, and I would add, or mindlessness, the birthplace of my enlightenment. Together, I am responsible for my own state of mind, or mindlessness, the birthplace of my enlightenment. Thank you. Peace and blessings.
That was from outer space. I don't know about you, but I sort of took a trip there with you. Thank you. So this is the time in our service that we have an opportunity to financially support this community. And we all know that money is just another facet of who we are. And that vibration, when it shows up in a community like this, reaches so far. It reaches as far as you were taking us this morning, so thank you. And whether it's Christine's wonderful message, Janae's amazing meditation, Vitrina's beautiful music, we're all in this together, and how grateful are we? So let's together hold those love offerings. There are envelopes on the seat pockets in case you want to get credit for your cash contributions on your end-of-year expenses for your taxes. Please use those, and let's affirm together our offering blessing, which is divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
Whatever things are lovely, whatever things are pure, whatever things bring you joy, think on these things. Whatever you find hopeful, whatever you know to be true, savor these things inside your heart. But that's what God expresses through you. We've all heard of the golden rule, call it karma or reciprocity. What we give out will come back to us. All I want is love coming back to me. Whatever things are lovely, whatever things are pure, whatever things bring you joy, think on these things. Whatever you find hopeful, whatever you know to be true, savor these things deep in your heart, for that's what God expresses through you. We've all heard of the golden rule, call it karma or reciprocity. What we give out will come back to us. All I want is love coming back to
as God has expressed through all of us so beautifully today, we see these offerings and we know that 10% off the top of these go out into the community, our local community and abroad, serves and supports those that are less fortunate by housing, clothing, feeding, and educating. Lessons like we learned today so that we can transcend what the mind tends to tell us. And so we know that we're prosperous and we bless this love offering, and we will do our prayer, our song. We're going to sing our song. And our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.